Mark Levin, welcome to the Reagan Library.
Big John, great honor, always.
Just great to have you here.
Thank you.
Just great to have you here, Mark. Mark, Ameritopia is a big seller. You're selling a lot of books. Now, it follows on the heels of Liberty and Tyranny, which I know sold something like 1.2 million and counting, right?
Right.
With such a success with Liberty and Tyranny, I know it's not because you need to make more money. Why write the second book, Ameritopia? Why was it needed?
Because I got to thinking when I was writing Liberty and Tyranny, I want to get into other areas too. They really are companion books, as it turns out. And the reason is I wanted to understand what is this force that lures millions and millions of people to it and attracts people and then basically destroys their nature and enslaves them to government. And Liberty and Tyranny didn't really answer that. That wasn't the purpose of the book. Liberty and Tyranny was a reintroduction of conservatism and non-conservatism, I feel, a restatement of it. And so I decided to go deep, and pick several philosophers that I thought needed to have some exposition and that I wanted people to become familiar with or reacquainted with. And then as I did that, I thought, now wait a minute, we have some great philosophers too, and their thinking and their writings undergird the founding. John Locke and Charles de Montesquieu, to name the two heavyweights. And I wanted to make sure as many people as possible were aware of them. So I'm very blessed. I have a position, I have a national microphone, and I just feel the more I can get information out there about what's good and what's evil, the more I feel that we have a chance as a society to survive. So that's why I wrote Ameritopia. Plus, I've personally concluded that we're not in a constitutional republic anymore. We are in certain ways, but there are more exceptions than the rule. And so as I wrote this book, I kept thinking, well, what are we? We're not a federal republic because the states have such limited power now. We're not even really a representative republic in so many ways because the government is so big with these administrative departments and so forth. And so what are we? And so I have personally concluded that we're in Ameritopia, and that's the point of the book, to explain that, and then to challenge the American people. How far down this road do we want to go?
Well, I remember in Liberty and Tyranny, you're the one through that book and through your show as well that put the word statist back into the American lexicon. I mean, now, as you have even commented, there's a whole lot of people using that word. Do you predict the same for the phrase you've coined, Ameritopia, and tell me exactly what you mean by that?
You know, it's interesting about that word statist. I mean, I haven't done all the research into its, in how it came to be, but Aristotle used it, and Ronald Reagan used it, as a matter of fact. And when I decided to use the word, it was in many ways just an easy way to describe what the left is. You know, rather than splitting hairs over Marxism and socialism and democratic socialism and fascism, when you're writing a book, you have to come up with a term. So statist was a term that to me represented exactly what the problem is. We have people in this country, politicians, their supporters, a party that supports government and government period. I don't know, the word Ameritopia, the reason I use that word is because I think it, in one word, it describes the nature of what we are and where we're headed. And that is some type of utopian statism where the people who promote this are constantly talking about all these fantasies, they're going to equalize income. No, they're not. They're going to get rid of pollution. No, they're not. And you can even hear it in the propaganda today where we need 4 more years, we need more time, we need to, the stimulus wasn't big enough. It's never going to be big enough. They're never going to have enough power. And we are never going to have the kind of freedom that we need to build our way out of what's going on in this society. But I thought Ameritopia was a word that kind of encapsulates that. I don't know if it'll pick up or not. I suspect in 50 years, 75 years, 100 years, Ameritopia will be used much more frequently, but I just don't know.
Yeah. Is there any hope? It's tough because when one reads your books, you certainly get educated. And sometimes you wonder as you're getting educated if it just gets a little bit more depressing, you know, as you read page to page where this whole thing is going. So what's your sense of whether or not the country will be able to wake up from this Ameritopia and do something about it?
Well, you know, I don't believe in putting smiley faces on these things. And I don't think it's either virtuous or noble to downplay them. There are people who keep saying, you know, we're Americans, and as Americans, we're not going to allow this to happen. Well, if we don't wake up more of our fellow Americans, the Ameritopia is going to continue to happen. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I had Thomas Sowell on my program the other day. He's a great hero of mine. And I ended with a question. I said to him, Dr. Sowell, do you think we're going to survive as a constitutional republic? And he said, if Barack Obama is reelected, no. I had Walter Williams on my program about a year ago. I asked him a similar question. He said it's already gone. But when you read Ronald Reagan, and you know I end the book as I end Liberty and Tyranny with a quote from Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan makes the point, and I won't make it as articulately as he does, but he made it in his first inaugural. He said, look, these things are not inevitable if we try and do something about them, but they are inevitable if we do nothing. And so this book, Ameritopia, really is, I hope, an effort to reinvigorate or invigorate people who are dispirited, people who think there's no hope, but it is absolutely based on reality. I don't think any thinking person who sees what's going on in this country today, what's going on in the world today, can conclude anything, but we have a hell of a lot of work on our hands, that our challenge is formidable and the situation is dire. And I believe all of those things. And I think when we accept reality, when we accept the facts, we're more likely to try and do something about it.
Mark, thanks for coming to the Reagan Library. Look forward to hearing from you tonight.
It's always a great honor, John.